Welcome to Commander Tilt. My name is Clark. Let me say just a little bit about my channel. I do custom gameplay videos about Magic the Gathering. I traditionally do Commander, but this is a special series where I'm doing a Rush tournament. I do a bracket style format, so each video will feature, decks against themselves, and with the idea that they move on to the next round, and then I'll find an ultimate winner, the best deck from the competition. So I've finished the first round, and so now we're moving on to the second round. Every deck you will see featured in these next sets of videos, obviously you've seen before if you've seen my previous videos. And so spoiler warnings, if you haven't watched the previous videos, then you will know who wins if you watch this video. And obviously, if you clicked on it, you already know who wins because you see the fingernail. Today's battle is going to feature Azorius versus Rakdos. The Azorius deck is a kind of a flying deck, and I discovered that Invocation of St. Traff is the MVP of that deck. That card is bonkers in this format. The Rakdos deck features kind of the typical Rakdos shenanigans with, killing creatures and docking life, and then also hasty monsters. So we're going to see which deck wins. Also, to note, and I was going to explain this in one of my previous videos, and I don't know why I didn't, but you'll notice when I go to do my card draws, I pick up the entire deck of cards. And the reason for that is kind of simple. Well, here, I've got a deck of cards. Let me demonstrate for you. In Rush, what you have to do is you take your previous hand and you put it on the bottom of your deck. And so if I haven't picked up my deck, it's a little difficult to kind of slide 3 or 4 or 5 cards onto the bottom of the deck. But then also when you go to draw, you have to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, which is, I've always found it's quicker if you're going to do, it's easier to do a bunch of cards at once to do it with your thumb and boom, 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 boom. So that's why I've been doing it that way, is picking up the whole deck, slide 1 under the cards underneath, really quick, get 5 on top. Speed is important when I film these videos. I want stuff to move fast. Another quick note about this channel, I really like the cards to be really big, because if they're big, you can see what they are. I can't tell you how many times I've watched other gameplay video channels where they show the card and it's teeny tiny and you can barely read it. And if I don't know what that card does, there's what? Thousands of cards in Magic. If I don't know what the card is, then I literally will pause the video, go to TCG Player or Scryfall and look the card up so that I can figure out what's happening in the game. So that's one of the reasons I have the cards really big on the side of the screen, with the idea that, you don't have to have that second source. You can watch my video and understand what is happening. So with that in mind, I sure hope you enjoy the video, and let's get into the action. Rakdos will go first. Rakdos will put down a mountain and then pass the turn. Azorius will put down an island. Tapping it will play Judge's Familiar and pass the turn. Rakdos will put down a second mountain, and then tapping that mountain will put down Footlight Fiend and pass the turn. Azorius will put down a Plains, and then moving to combat will swing with the Judge's Familiar for 1 damage and pass the turn. Rakdos will put down a Swamp, and then moving to combat will swing with the Footlight Fiend, but then spend 3 mana for Augur Spree. Azorius will respond by playing the dual card Warrant Warden, playing the Warrant side of the card, which puts the Footlight Fiend onto the top of its owner's library. So then Augur Spree fizzles, and Footlight Fiend goes back on the top of Rakdos' deck, and Rakdos will pass the turn. Azorius will play a Plains, and then play Daxos of Meletis. Moving to combat, will swing with the Judge's Familiar and pass the turn. Rakdos will tap a red for Footlight Fiend. That's the one that went on the top of the deck. And then we're going to tap the mana for a Spike Gesture. It's a 3/1 with haste. Moving to combat, will swing. And Azorius will choose not to block, so Azorius takes 3 damage. Azorius will untap. We'll put down a Plains as our land for turn. Next, we're going to tap 3 mana for Invocation of St. Traff. Attaching it to the Judge's Familiar, we can attack immediately, which the enchantment triggers, putting a 4/4 attacking angel on the battlefield. We hit for 5 damage, and we'll pass the turn. The angel then exiles. Rakdos will untap. Rakdos will take its draw. We'll put down a Swamp. And then we're going to tap the mana for Footlight Fiend and Cult Guild Mage. Moving to combat, we'll swing with the other two creatures that don't have Summoning Sickness, and Azorius won't even block. We'll just take the 4 damage. Rakdos will pass. It's not looking good for Rakdos. Azorius will put down an island, but then we'll just immediately move to combat, swinging with the Angel and the Judge's Familiar, and Azorius wins the first combat. Okay, round 2, Azorius gets to go first. Azorius will put down an island. Rakdos will put down a swamp. Azorius will put down a plains. And then pass. Rakdos will put down a mountain. And then tapping 2 mana, we'll get a Spike Jester out. Moving to combat, we'll swing with the hasty creature, hitting for 3 damage. And then pass the turn. Azorius will put down a plains. And then Azorius will tap 3 mana for Layev Sky Knight and will detain the Spike Jester. Rakdos will put down a swamp. And then we'll tap 3 mana for Blightning, dealing 3 damage to Azorius. And then Azorius discards 2 cards. We pick an island and a plains to discard. Not able to attack with that frozen creature, Rakdos will pass. Azorius will put down an island, and then we'll tap all of our mana for Skymark Rock. Moving to combat, we'll swing with the Layev Knight, hitting for 3 damage, because there's no flying blockers on Rakdos, and we'll pass the turn. Rakdos will untap. Rakdos is going to play a swamp, and then Rakdos is going to go ahead and move to combat and swing with the Spike Jester. Azorius chooses to block in the 2 creatures trade, but then Rakdos can put down an Olivia's Bloodsworn and a Footlight Fiend. And then Rakdos will pass the turn. Azorius will untap and take its draw. Azorius will put down a plains. Next, Azorius is going to tap the mana for another Layev Sky Knight. And we'll choose to detain Olivia's Bloodsworn. Next, we'll tap a single mana for Judge's Familiar. And then we'll move to combat with no flying blockers still. We'll attack with the Layev Sky Knight, doing 3 damage, and we'll pass the turn. Looking back, I probably should have detained the Cult Guild Mage instead of the Bloodsworn, because the Bloodsworn can't block anyway, but that's okay. Rakdos will put down a mountain, and then tapping a single mana, put down Footlight Fiend. Next, we're going to tap almost all our remaining mana, but we retain a red for Rakdos Roustabout, and then we'll tap that red and the Cult Guild Mage, doing 1 damage directly to Azorius' face, but having no good attacks, we'll pass the turn. Azorius will put down an island, and then moving to combat, we'll swing with the 2 Layev Sky Knights, and then just kind of for spite, we'll go ahead and cast Azorius Charm, giving both creatures lifelink. So, Rakdos drops to -2, and Azorius gains 6 life, going to 9. And with that, Azorius wins both combats, and Azorius is the first deck moving on to the Final 4. Well, that game is in the books, and Azorius moves on to the Final 4. That is the first deck that's moved on to the Final 4. I've got 3 more battles, and then we'll have the Final 4 set. So I sure appreciate you watching this video. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. I do have a Patreon page, and I would love it if you would visit my page and take a look at the rewards that are available. It would help me out a lot. Remember to like and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you hear about my latest videos. Have a great day.